Hi everyone, and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions, my podcast about knitting, spinning, and sewing. Even though the sewing and the spinning have been on a pretty long hiatus lately. My name is Tommi. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Dynamite Trujillo. Welcome to episode 54 of my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. If you are a new viewer, thank you for checking out my channel, and if you're a returning viewer, a big welcome back. Today is a really nice overcast and cool Friday in March, where I'm coming to you from on the Northern California coast. And we do have a Ravelry group for this podcast, which you should totally go check out and join if you have not yet. It's where you'll find the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes. It is also where you'll find knit along stuff and giveaway stuff and all kinds of fun stuff. We have an Ask Me Anything thread. We have a thread about books, so check that out if you haven't yet. We do have a knit along running right now. It is the Kid Along, and that's hashtag Kid Along on Instagram. And this is where you can knit anything for a little one, babies, kids, whatever. There are minimal rules, so you can check that out in the Ravelry thread. There's a chatter thread and an FO thread, and this knit along is going to be running through April, so you have about a month left to get some stuff made. And things for kids are nice and small, so you've got plenty of time. If you want to enter, I will be drawing prizes from the FO thread for that knit along later. And you guys have been, of course, as always, making the most amazing things. I love what you're making. It's so inspirational. There are tons of sweaters, tons of toys, which I admire so much people who make toys, because knitted toys I really, really love, but I've made a few in my time, but not many, because I don't know, I'm not drawn to the whole process of it, so I kind of just never do it. But I want to so bad. Somebody posted, I think it was today or maybe yesterday, some whales that they knitted. They're so cool. Anyway, check that out if you're interested in knitting for any little ones coming up. And there was a giveaway that we did since the last episode. I have closed the thread for the Something Wicked Mitts giveaway. And the Something Wicked Mitts are a recent pattern released by the lovely and talented podcaster, designer, and hand dyer Kristen, who's also known as Woolen Vine. And these were some gorgeous, gorgeous fingerless mitt cable pattern. Some gorgeous fingerless mitts. It was a cable pattern. Whatever. And she so kindly donated a copy of the pattern for me to give away on the podcast. So I drew a winner for that this morning, and I'm going to tell you who won right now. So I asked in the thread if you preferred moonlight or sunlight, and I had a lot of really awesome answers that I really enjoyed. I would say it was about 50-50. Me personally, I always have a cop-out answer for stuff like this because I can't choose because I love them both. I really love the moon and the night sky, as you might know, a lot. But really, honestly, I'm an early morning person. I don't stay up late at all. Kind of my favorite is the moon at dawn. That's kind of my favorite. But anyway, I loved reading all your answers. Thank you so much for participating in that giveaway. And the winner for that was post number 29, Grammy Knitterbug, who is Karen, and she prefers sunlight. So thank you, and congratulations, Karen. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to let Kristen know that you won, and you should have the Something Wicked Mitts in your mailbox on Ravelry. So congratulations. I hope you love the pattern. I love it. I knit it myself, and I'm going to show you the mitts in a little bit because I did finish them because they are super quick. I think Kristen is also running a knit along for those mitts, but it might be closing soon. So if you happen to be knitting them right now, check that out. I really, really love them. Go check them out, knit them. They're awesome and they're quick. Okay, moving on to Anything else? What I'm wearing? I'm wearing kind of an old staple of the podcast. This is my Agnes dress. It's out of some black jersey cotton. It's based on the Agnes top, which is a pattern, sewing pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. I made it into a tunic dress. It's a tunic length top. I wear it as a dress, and I love it. I wear it like all the freaking time. So that's what I'm wearing. I'm also wearing my featherweight cardigan, which is a knitting pattern by Hannah Fettig, and I knit this out of Imperial Yarns Tracy 2, which is some really great small time woolen spun yarn out of Oregon. And I'm pretty sure how their company works, Imperial Yarns, is they own sheep and have a lot of them and have them in pastures, and they sell meat and wool from those sheep, and they make a lot of really beautiful yarn. I love their company, and I adore this yarn in the sweater, but honestly lately I have been thinking about frogging it and knitting a different sweater out of it, because while I do wear it a lot on the podcast, I honestly don't wear it that often in real life. It's a really great just simple raglan cardigan for when I'm sitting still. But when I start to move around in my daily life, it just doesn't fit me that well. I think this style of open front raglan cardigan just doesn't work for me. It constantly tends to slip off and kind of ride down my shoulders, and I'm constantly doing this. And I just love this yarn so much that I want a more wearable sweater out of it. I knit this cardigan out of 2 skeins, and I do have one full extra skein left over that I didn't break into for this knit. So I've been thinking about it. I've been browsing Ravelry to see what I can make out of what I have of this yarn, which is, I think 3 skeins is about 900 and something yards. And I don't know if I'm going to do it yet. Pretty much what I've been finding is to make a sport weight sweater that I think I would like enough to be worth frogging this sweater for, I would probably have to buy an extra skein, maybe 2. So I don't know if I'm going to do it. We'll see. But for now, I love wearing this cardigan, mostly because I love the yarn, and I will wear it if I'm not going to be too active. Anyway, I'm also wearing a pretty gaudy necklace that I will mention because it's awesome. It has got dinosaurs on it. I don't know if you can tell from where you are, but it's all a bunch of dinosaurs, and they're all they're just plastic dinosaurs. They're kind of like that shrinky dink material, and half of them are like metallic, half of them are like sparkly colors, and some of them are black, and I love it. This is one of my favorite necklaces. In case you're interested, I got it off of the ModCloth website, and I'll link to it in the show notes. It's a really bitchin' necklace. I like it a lot. Okay, so what have I finished? A couple of really awesome things. That's what I finished. So my first finished object is the Something Wicked mitts. And here's one. And I love it so much. Here's what it looks like on. It has got this really gorgeous cable pattern going up the back of the hand. And again, this is a pattern written by Kristen, also known as Vine, and they're really, really great. This is a DK weight pattern, and I followed the pattern almost to the T. The only thing that I changed up was I did a regular 1x1 ribbing for the cuff, and she calls for twisted ribbing. I happen to not really like twisted ribbing, so I did a regular ribbing. And I think I added an extra round or 2 to this cuff down here, just because I felt like it. And the yarn I used is Moonstone Dye Works, which is my hand-dyed yarn company. I use the Polworth DK base, which is 100% Polworth yarn. And this is the colorway Frostbite, which was my holiday colorway for this last year, for 2017. And I had one rogue skein left, so I made some mitts out of it, and I really love them. They're super comfortable. The yarn is really nice and squishy and woolly, and the mitts themselves, the design is just, they fit my hand perfectly. I made the small size, comes in I think 3 sizes, small, medium, and large maybe. I made the smallest one, and they fit great. I really, really like wearing fingerless mitts. So I'm really happy to have another pair. And yeah, they're awesome. I love them. You should knit them for sure. My other finished object is a test knit that I did for Caitlin of the Wool Jewel podcast. This is a pair of leg warmers, and I love them so much. Okay, so they look pretty funky, just like this. They're really long. So this is the first one, and it's pretty much, this is the foot, that's the heel. So it's got just an open heel where your heel goes, and it's open footed, so your toes stick out. And it's 2x2 rib, and then up where the calf is, it's stockinette, and then there's 2x2 ribbing at the top as well. So it's kind of hard to envision this on your leg, but it is designed to be so comfortable. It fits so well. And so I kind of popped one on a blocker to maybe show it a little more accurately. So like I said, it's open-toed, so it just comes right in the middle of your foot right here, and this ribbing really, really makes it sit nicely on the foot. Your heel sticks out, which I really like. And then this is it kind of scrunched down on my sock blocker. So like I said, this is a test knit. It is not available yet. I will let you know as soon as it is released as a pattern. And I used, what yarn did I use? I threw the yarn over there somewhere. Let's see if I can remember. Okay, so I used a Regia for one color, and then I used Dharma Dye Works for the other color. And with this pattern, you stripe your yarns the whole way through. And kind of the idea behind it is it's a self-striping striped with a gradient or a tonal, and I used a tonal. And I think it came out really, really lovely. Now the Regia yarn is is one of the Regia lines that I can't remember what it is, but I will put it in the show notes. The colorway is a number, so I will put that in the show notes too. The Dharma Dye Works is a hand-dyed yarn. It's 100% BFL yarn. And I was struggling with the colorway name these past couple episodes, and a really super helpful and lovely viewer told me what it was. So it's, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but it's Femme Har, which is what she said. It's I think I'm going to say this right. I didn't look at it again right before I podcast, so I hope I'm getting it right. But I think it's an Irish word that means, I forgot what it means, but I think it's an Irish word, and it's Femme Har. So that's the colorway of the tonal that I used as the striping. And it's kind of a coppery, rusty orange. It's really, really pretty. And these were super fun to knit. It's a lot of 2x2 ribbing, but the striping of the two different yarns keeps it really fun and interesting. And then you have this nice, awesome, big panel of stockinette that of course is always super fun. And I really, really love them. I really want to get some pictures soon of me wearing them. So as soon as I do, I'll put that up on Instagram so you can see what they look like on. But they're so comfortable. I really, really like this design. They're kind of exactly what I've been wanting in leg warmers. I've been wanting to knit a pair of leg warmers for a pretty long time now, and I haven't really been able to find one that I wanted to knit. And when Caitlin showed this design on her podcast a while ago, I knew that those were the ones. So I really highly recommend this pattern as soon as it comes out, and I will definitely let you know when it's released. So these are some leg warmers, and I really love them. And more info to come regarding those. So those are my two finished objects. I love them so much. So yeah. And I did block both of those in my brand new sock soap that I purchased from Tuft Woolens. She had an update a little while ago, and she had a scent that was new called Fifth and 57th, and it was a Breakfast at Tiffany's inspired sock soap scent. And it sounded really good from the description. It was like bourbon and vanilla and like spicy stuff. And that's sounded right up my alley. And I love Breakfast at Tiffany's. I love the movie a lot. I love the novella even more. And so I caved and I bought it, and I blocked both of those finished objects in that sock soap, and it's amazing. I love it. If you haven't checked out Tuft Woolens yet, I definitely think you should, because her stuff is really amazing. She makes handmade soap bars for blocking knitwear. She also makes like hand balms and body balms and stuff like that. And I also got a hand balm, like an unscented hand balm. So that's been awesome too. Anyway, on to my works in progress. I am distracted because I have a window, a big sliding glass window right in front of me, and my chickens are looking at me through it and being really funny. Okay, sorry. My first work in progress is a pair of socks. It is living in my Sugar Tots Fox bag, which is fast becoming a staple bag of mine. These are my Nomadic Yarn socks. So this is a pair of knee highs that I'm making, and this is Nomadic Yarns in the Dobby is a Free Elf colorway. It's a self-striping yarn, and I adore it so very much because these are my favorite colors. Like, no joke. And I have the entire first leg done. I'm at the point where I'm about to start the I can't stop looking at my chickens. They're so freaking funny. They're so puffy. Okay. What was I saying? This is a sock. This is a knee-high sock. I'm about to start the heel flap. I do my knee-high socks top down. I cast on 64 stitches for the cuff, 2x2 ribbing. I do a pretty hefty ribbing. This is like over 2 inches probably. And then I work 64 inches. No, I don't. I work 64 stitches for a little while until my calf starts to get smaller, and then I decrease down to 56 stitches, which is my normal stitch count for socks. And when I get to a point where it starts to become my heel on my actual leg, I start my heel flap and gusset, and then I'll do a rounded toe with the Kitchener finish, which is a toe style that I kind of made up. It's like a mishmash of a couple different toe styles that I like. If you're interested in what that looks like, you can check out my Pandora Socks project page on Ravelry. That's got a detailed description of how I do my toe, and I really, really like it. So I am knitting these on a size 1 Chiaogu interchangeable mini twist, which is absolutely by far my very favorite sock needle of all time. And I've only been using these for, I think I discovered them, well, I bought them a few months ago maybe, and they have completely risen to the top of my sock list. I adore knitting with these so much. They are the best. And they're interchangeables, and I love interchangeables. I hardly ever use fixed circulars anymore, except for sock needles. I had a bunch of fixed circulars, but interchangeables are just my favorites because they're so versatile. I mean, you have one of every size, and then you have a bunch of different cores, and then you use what you need for different projects, and oh, I just love them. They're the best. And so now I have interchangeable sock needles, and I have these in like 0s, 1s, and 1.5s, which kind of spans the range of what I might need for socks. And I love them. I really, really love them. So I'm really digging these socks. I noticed that this year I have not knit any, I don't think I've knit any regular length socks. I think I've only knit knee-high socks this year. And I think that's kind of funny. This is my third pair of knee-high socks this year, and I wonder if that's going to keep going. I don't know. Am I going to have a whole box of socks with just knee-highs? I doubt it. I seriously doubt I'm going to make the box of socks this year, but we'll see. So this is Nomadic Yarns, which is dyed by the amazingly talented self-striping dyer, Ashley of Nomadic Yarns. This is the Dobby is a Free Elf colorway in the twisty sock base. And if you haven't seen it yet, Ashley and her friend Christy do have a podcast called the Knit Along Podcast. There's only a few episodes out so far, but I love it. If you're interested in checking out her podcast, I think you should. They're really, really fun, and I love the things that they make. So that's the Knit Along Podcast. Check it out if you haven't yet. And I love these socks. They're my fave. So my next work in progress is a new cast on in a brand new project bag. I bought a project bag. Okay, I got this from the Starlight Knitting Society, which I believe is a shop in Oregon. I think Portland. I could be wrong. But they had a booth at Stitches West, and I went to Stitches West. I went to their booth. They were one of my favorite booths. I really liked what they had. And I bought some wool from them. And I started following them on Instagram, and of course they put up this post on Instagram with these new bags that they were carrying, and I bought one right away because it looks like this. Isn't that just the best? Look at this bag. This is hand embroidered. It's amazing. So this bag is by Emerald Fibers, who, if I remember correctly, is based out of Ireland. And they posted these bags on Instagram that they just got them in, and I could not resist, so I bought one. And this is just such cool embroidery work on this bag. It's just a black zipper bag. It's got a handle, and I just love it so much. And if you look really closely at it, the thread that she used for the embroidery is it's almost metallic. I'm like so in love with this. I don't know if they have any left, but I will link to their shop in the show notes, and I just love it so much. And you can follow, if you want to, Emerald Fibers on Instagram too. She's at Emerald Fibers, and the Starlight Knitting Society is at Starlight Knitting Society. And I really like them. Like I said, they were one of my favorite booths of Stitches, and their logo is amazing. It's amazing. So this is a new cast on that I cast on with my leftover yarn from the Something Wicked mitts. So this is Moonstone Dye Works in the Polworth DK base in the Frostbite colorway. And like I said earlier, this was a holiday colorway. It's no longer available in the shop, but if you're interested and you want some, let me know. And I'm always happy to dye up whatever you might want. So here's what I have so far. This is a baby hat, right? So this pattern is Aki by Allison McCarney. And this is a Boris and Stasha Designs pattern. So pretty much what I've got so far, it's a rib. It's like an interesting rib pattern. It's not a standard rib, and it's kind of like a broken rib almost. And so far I'm just knitting it flat, and then at some point I'll seam it, and it's gonna be like a little bonnet. And it's really cute. I was inspired to knit this pattern by the Hey Sister podcast. Both of them, I think, were knitting Boris and Stasha Designs hats and showed them in their last episode, and I loved them. So I went over to Ravelry, favorited Boris and Stasha, and I fell in love with this little bonnet pattern. And I had extra DK weight yarn, so I was like, yeah, I'm knitting that right now. And so this has been going along pretty quick. I am using a size 7 needle. These are my High Sharps interchangeables. And yeah, this is one of my entries for the kit along. This is going to be for my baby who is due in July, and I really like it. I'm doing the second size, so whatever that is. I think it's I don't know, it's probably like the 3 to 6 month size or something. I'm not doing the newborn, I'm doing the next one up. And here's a kitty cat that's hanging out on my project. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I really like it. It's going by quick. I'll have a little bonnet pretty soon. And just, I'm just so in love with this bag. And the back is just black. It's like a really nice thick black canvas. And the inside is just natural canvas. Oh, I love it so much. This is like my favorite new thing. My next work in progress, I have a few. I've been working on I feel like I've knit a lot in the past 2 weeks, which is really satisfying. I really, really like what I've been making. The next work in progress I have is living in my Neon Cats project bag. And this is a whip that I had put down for a little while, but I picked back up and I'm really stoked about it. This is my Summertide shawl. So this was a mystery knit along hosted by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, and it is no longer a mystery. It was put out a while ago and I really like it. And speaking of Helen Stewart mystery knit alongs, her new one starts tomorrow. Are you gonna make it? I am so tempted, as I always am. I'm always tempted by her mystery knit alongs and Stephen West's mystery knit alongs, but I just can't. I'm not gonna do it. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna do it. I could cave, who knows? But I'm probably not gonna do it. I'm not much of a mystery knit alonger, just because I am scared. But pretty much every time she's done a mystery knit along, and about half of Stephen West's mystery knit alongs, I've ended up wanting to knit after the fact. So I usually just wait till they come out, like this one, and then fall in love with it, and then knit it later. So this is the Summertide shawl. It is a crescent shaped shawl with some awesome garter stitch at the top. And then it goes into this beautiful lace. And then you switch to your contrast color and some more beautiful lace, which is a different lace than the previous lace. And yes, I do have a million billion stitch markers on it, because I am one of those people who uses a million billion stitch markers when they knit lace, because I like to put a stitch marker between every single lace repeat, because it has saved my ass more than a dozen times knitting lace. So that's what I do. And I highly recommend doing it if you like knitting lace. In my opinion, it's the way to go. Seriously. You should know how to read your knitting, and I feel like even, I don't know, I hear, some people argue that you shouldn't be using stitch markers and lace because you should be able to read your knitting and tell that way, where you're at, but it's helpful, guys. It's super helpful. So anyway, I am really digging this shawl. I had put it down for a while because I accidentally broke the yarn at some point too soon when I thought I was supposed to switch colors, but I hadn't gotten there yet. So, of course, that put a big roadblock in it for me mentally because I had to reattach the yarn. Oh my God. But I finally picked it back up again and I'm super happy about it. Here is a little moon progress keeper that I've got on it from, I think this is from I forget. I'll put it in the show notes though. And I'm using a size 6. These are my signature needles. Not my favorite needles in the whole world, but I bought a size 4 and a size 6 signature needle years ago with 2 different size cables for each needle tip. And so I have them in my stash and I use them occasionally, but they're really not my favorites. I enjoy Hayahayas way more, and they're way cheaper. I don't love the cable. It's thick and it's not as flexible as the Hayahaya cables, and I really like a good flexible cable. So, and you know, I don't think they're that sharp. They're known for being very, very sharp needles. I don't really consider them to be that sharp. My Hayahayas are way sharper. But that's what it looks like. It's a great needle. It's nice. They're just, you know, not my preference. The yarn that I'm using is some Woolen Vine yarns, which is this one. This is my main color, or the top color. This is her new Vo base, which is a single ply 100% superwash merino, and this is the Paranormal colorway. This, I believe, was her Halloween colorway from last year, and I love it. It was one of those ones where the name really sucked me in, as well as the actual colorway, because I really like paranormal things. And the other color, the contrast or bottom color that I'm using, is Yarn Experiments. And this is in the Night Dame colorway, and this is her single ply superwash merino and Stellina base. And it's super pretty. It's really deep, it's really dark, it's really tonal. It's like grays and purples and what would you call that? Is that a magenta? It's like a magenta-y, maroony kind of color. I love it. So I think those two colors are playing really, really well together, and I'm really liking how this is coming out. I am really close to being done with it, I think. I'm on clue 4, and I feel like there's 5 clues. Could be wrong, but I feel like that's where I'm at. And the lace is really intuitive and really fun, and I really enjoy working on this. Happy to have picked it up again, because it's been a while since I've worked on a shawl like this, and I needed one in my life. So that is what that is. And my next work in progress, they just keep on coming, is my Flax Light pullover. And this is another knit for the kid along. It's another baby knit for my baby, and I am using Moonstone Dyeworks, which is my hand-dyed yarn company, in the BFL sock base, which is BFL and nylon. And this is the Stone Cold Manners colorway, which is my A Court of Thorns and Roses inspired colorway. And this thing's flying. Seriously, it's just like stockinetting around with fingering weight yarn, and it's going so fast. So here it is so far. This is a tin can knits pattern. It's called the Flax Light, and it's just a simple, really basic raglan top-down pullover. And it's got a 1x1 ribbing at the neck. It's got this garter stitch detail on the sleeves, which is going to go down the whole sleeve. And then the rest of it, the body's just stockinette. So I really like it. I feel like I'm almost done with the body. And I am knitting this on size 5 needles from my High Sharp interchangeable set. And I love it. I'm knitting the second to smallest size again. So it's not the newborn one. I think it's probably 3 to 6 month size. Yeah, I'm into it. I dig it. Hopefully it'll be done soon, because I already have my next baby sweater planned. Is that it for this one? I think that's it for this one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. My next sweater that I want to cast on for a baby sweater, though, is I have it right here. It's all ready to go, because I got super inspired. So a really super kind viewer gifted me this baby sweater back when I first announced my pregnancy on the podcast. And I love it. It's so exciting. So it's Petite Knits Rigmore Summer Shirt. And I've popped a picture of it here so you can see what it looks like. I just really felt like, I think like last week I was like, I have to make this right now. But of course, you know me, I don't like having more than one thing on the needles at the same time. That is the same type of thing. So I got everything ready for it. And as soon as I'm done with the flax slide, I'm going to cast it on. And I have Deep Stash Knit Picks Cotton yarn, which is a cotton linen blend. And it's a DK weight in the cerise colorway. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But it's like hot magenta. It's a really bright magenta yarn. And I thought it would work really perfectly with that top. And so I had the yarn in stash, had the pattern because of a super kind viewer. And I just was like, this needs to happen. And my baby's going to be born in the summertime, so some cotton linen tops I think are going to be awesome. So I think I am going to knit this one in the newborn size, or whatever the smallest size is. And this is, I didn't even realize this. This is a almost completely viewer supplied project. And that is just, that warms my heart to the freaking core. So that pattern was gifted to me. This awesome library bag was gifted to me a long time ago by a super kind viewer. This Pusheen pin was gifted to me by my husband. and this Pusheen little puff ball was gifted to me by a viewer too pretty recently. And so yeah, that's awesome, you guys. Thank you. Anyway, that's my next baby knit that I'm planning, and I'm really, really excited about it. It was funny because I don't know why I was thinking about it, but I just felt this urgency that I wanted to knit this pattern really bad. So I put the whole little kit together for myself, and then I started watching the Fiber Tales podcast, and within the hour of putting this kit together and being really excited about it, I was watching her podcast, and she either was knitting it or had just finished knitting it for her daughter, the same pattern, and I was like, I got so excited. Anyway, so that's going to be fun. Hopefully that'll be on the needle soon, because I can't wait. And yeah, I really, really like this pattern. It's a really popular baby knit, and it's easy to tell why, because it's really easy, it's really simple, it's really fun. It's great for hand-dyed yarns because it's just stockinette around. It's a big giant sock. So that is that. And my last work in progress, I know the parade is almost over, you guys, is living in my Fat Squirrel project bag with the skulls and the birds and the goats on it. It is my Starships cardigan. So this is my current garment pattern, and it is the Hematite cardigan by Lisa Much. And here is what I have. So, oh my god, I'm in the middle of the row. I just did that. I definitely just did that. So I'm in the middle of the row. So anyway, this is what I have so far on my Hematite cardigan, or my Starships cardigan. And I am really, really loving it. So this is knit out of Moonstone Dye Works again, in the Natural Merino base in the Starships colorway. And I am alternating skeins. I only have the 2 skeins, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have enough yarn. I feel like I checked yardage to the pattern. But hey, if I don't, I can dye more, right? And so here's my label. And I love it, I love it, I love it. This is a top-down raglan cardigan, and it is mainly garter stitch, which is super fun. The top yoke part is kind of a garter stitch alternating with stockinette sort of pattern. The sleeves have garter stitch as well, and they are supposed to be garter stitch all the way down. I am going to modify it to be stockinette all the way down and just have this garter on the shoulder. Another modification that I am making is I have added an I-cord edging, which I think looks way nicer than just the kind of raw garter edge that the pattern calls for. And I did get that idea from another person who had a project on Ravelry who had already done it. And I think it's a really great idea. So that's what I'm doing. Now this cardigan buttons at the top here. There are 4 buttonholes just at the top. So it buttons at the top and it's open the rest of the way down. And I really like that style. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I am making the smallest size and I'm getting pretty far. Here is another Progress Keeper from the same Progress Keeper maker who did my little moon, and I just remembered what she's called, Charmed and Dangerous. So she used Charmed and Dangerous on Etsy. I will link to her in the show notes. I really, really like her Progress Keepers a lot. So yeah, this thing is coming along really nicely. It's going by really fast because it's just stockinette. There is waist shaping. So right now I'm coming close to the end of the increases. And then after that, I'll just be getting to the length that I want. And I love it. I do already have my next, I'll talk about it later. I am constantly thinking about my next project. I already have a bunch of sweater ideas in mind for my next one, as I'm sure I talk about every time, because I am obsessed with what I'm gonna knit next. Always. Always. Are you guys like that? I don't know. I'm like that. Constantly thinking about the next thing I want to cast on. So that is really coming along nicely. And it's really nice. It's a really easy, simple pattern. I really, really like it. And I can't wait to wear it. So that is all of my works in progress this time. I really, really enjoy all of them right now. They're bringing me a lot of joy. And yes. Okay, so now we are going to move on to shop update, which is where I am going to show you some of the yarn that's going to be in the Moonstone Dyeworks shop update tomorrow, which is Saturday, March 31st. The update will happen at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and that can be gotten to through moonstonedyeworks.com or just through Etsy. There will be a link down in the thing with all the info at the bottom of the screen. And yeah, so I am going to be running a little bit of a sale from Saturday when the update starts through Monday, which is April 2nd. I love the idea of kits. Right? So a lot of dyers do the 3 skein kits for shawls or sweaters or whatever. And I kind of wanted to do like a do-it-yourself kit in my shop. So I think a lot of the yarns that I have this week can go really well together for a shawl or a sweater or whatever. And I didn't want to put the kits together for you though. So what I'm going to do is offer a 10% discount to any order over 3 skeins. So put together your own 3 skein kit from anything in my shop and you'll get 10% off. So that's going to be running. There's no coupon code needed. As long as 3 or more skeins are added to your cart, the entire order will be 10% off. So I think that's pretty exciting. If you're interested, come check it out. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm going to have in the shop right now. So pardon me while I grab it. So I was watching the Yarngasm podcast this morning, the latest episode, and she was talking about how when you are recording a video, you end up forwarding yourself into your little area with all of their stuff you're showing, and it just ends up all around you, and you kind of can't move within it, and you're like, how am I going to get out? That just happened to me. It was funny. Anyway, so I have a few exciting announcements about the shop. One of them I'm going to tell you right now. The other 2 I'm going to wait until after I show everything. Actually, no, I'll just tell them all to you right now. Why not? So the first exciting announcement that I have is that I have started carrying a new base. So I do currently stock the Polworth DK base, which is 100% Polworth. DK white yarn, and I love it. I adore it. I think it's awesome. But I wanted another DK option, so I have started stocking a 100% superwash merino DK base, and I love it. The fiber content is obviously different, and the yarn structure itself is pretty different. The Polworth DK is a little more, it's a little more woolly feeling. It's a little sheepier, a little more rustic. It's still very, very soft. But the merino is much more plump and smooth, and it's really plump and squishy. And I really, really like it. So I wanted to try carrying this one as well. So they're both going to be in the shop, and the merino DK's debut is going to be tomorrow. So I've got a few different colorways available on that base. I'm also going to have some Polworth DK. So they'll both be there for you to choose from if you're interested. There's an intruder cat in my backyard. Squirrel. So my backyard acts as a cat highway, and I get all kinds of random cats in my backyard, including my neighbor cats. Sometimes they sneak into my garage through the cat door and eat my cat's cat food. So every time I see a random cat in my backyard, I'm like, and there's one right there. And there's nothing I can do about it right now because I'm busy. So Squirrel's just gonna have to deal with it. It's funny too, because the one that's there right now is a squirrel lookalike. She looks just like Squirrel and they hate each other. Anyway, irrelevant. Yes, Merino DK will be in the shop tomorrow. I really, really like it. I hope you do too. I love yarn that's 100% wool, and I love merino, and it's a really beautiful yarn. I like it a lot. So I will be showing you some of that. The next announcement is that the Are You Knitworthy podcast hosted by Danny and Monica is running a knit along, or actually they're running a yarn along right now with Moonstone Dye Works. So I am super, super honored that they have chosen my yarn for their yarn along. And this pretty much means that they're hosting a knit along in their podcast group on Ravelry, Are You Knitworthy? And all you have to do is use Moonstone Dye Works. And I think it's running in April. It could be longer, I'm not sure, but I know at least through April. Good, the cat ran away. Good job, Squirrel. And I just wanted to let you guys know about it. I'm super honored that they chose my yarn, and I love their podcast, so check that out too if you haven't yet. Monica is the dyer behind Yarn Experiments, which is the yarn from my Summertide shawl. And yeah, check that out. Also, really, really excited to say that the Frame and Fiber Yarn Shop in Pleasant Point, New Jersey is going to be carrying Moonstone Dye Works. I know that, I'm pretty sure she has my yarn now. She's going to be debuting it, I think, during the New Jersey Wool Walk, which is taking place from April 19th to April 22nd. So if you're in the area, Frame and Fiber, owned by the gorgeous and lovely Paige, who is Paige the Framer, is going to be carrying at Moonstone Dye Works. Yay! So I'm really, really excited about that. If you're in the area, check it out. You can see Moonstone Dye Works in person. She's got a lot of colorways. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm really excited to announce that. Okay. That's it with the announcements. Let's move on to some of the colorways that are going to be available in this week's shop update. First off is some Crescent Moon. I brought over a bunch of random stuff. So this pretty much represents most of the colorways that's going to be available tomorrow. In some of the bases, I kind of grabbed randomly, so we'll see what I have. So I have got Crescent Moon. And this is Crescent Moon on the new Merino DK base. And I love it. I love how this base takes color. Oh, just so much. I love it. It's so plump and squishy. So this is a 100 gram skein. And then this is it on BFL sock. And this is it on natural merino. And it does look quite a bit different on Natural Merino. Natural Merino is my 100% non-superwash Falkland Merino base. And it takes color quite a bit differently than the superwash yarns. So that's what it looks like on that. And next up is a brand new colorway. This is called Yvain. And Yvain is a character from Stardust, which is a Neil Gaiman novel that I finished recently that I'll talk about a little later. And I loved it, and I was super inspired by Yvain, who's an amazing character. So I dyed this colorway for her. It is called Yvain, and I really, really love it. So this is it also on the new Merino DK base. And here it is on BFL sock. It's a really nice muted kind of gray with purple and pink tone. And it's also got like some greens in it, some like kind of seafoamy greens. And this whole color palette just really reminded me of her. And I know there is a movie for Stardust, so and I haven't seen it. I know I should and I want to. I don't know what Yvain looks like in the movie, but in my head from the novel, this is what she reminds me of. Really like starry and glowy in cool colors though, and like kind of dark muted, like she's a fallen star. This is it on my Merino single base. So that's Yvain. That's my new colorway that I just freaking love. I am also going to have some High and Low, which is an oldie, and I love it. This is it on Stellina sock, and this is it on Merino single. Let's see, here is Waxing. This is one of my favorite tonals that I do. It's a kind of stone gray, and this is it on Stellina sock and on Merino single. There will also be Stone Cold Manners, which is another oldie, one of my very favorites. It's what my Flax Light is in, and this is it on the new Merino DK base. This is it on the old DK, the Polworth DK base. And this is Stellina sock. And a couple more I've got over here. This is Galaxies. This is Stellina sock and Merino single. And lastly, we have got El Mirage. And these are both Stellina sock. So, yes. That is almost everything I'm going to have in the shop tomorrow. There are a lot of really fun color combinations here. I saw some of them together. I've got a lot of cool tones this update, a lot of grays and purples and kind of creams and browns, and I don't know, I think a lot of them would look really, really good together. So check out the shop tomorrow and put some kits together for yourself if you want to. If you buy 3 or more skeins of any skeins, it doesn't matter what it's for, just 3 or more skeins, everything will be 10% off. So again, no coupon code needed, just add them to your cart and the discount will show up. And I hope you enjoy. I hope you like what I have got today, and I really like everything that's in the shop right now. I'm probably gonna have to steal some. What if I just do the Curious Handmade Mystery Knit Along? What if? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. Probably not, but maybe. I got so much stuff I want to knit, you guys. It's ridiculous. Okay, so that's it for shop update. Again, you can find a link in the info down below, also in the show notes, and also through moonstone.com. So thank you for supporting the shop. If you have or you do in the future, I appreciate it so much more than you can possibly know. I really, really do. So moving on to favorites. Favorites this week, I've got a little bit of an obsession that just started last night. I was watching the Wool Jewel podcast with Caitlin, and she finished a Stephen West sweater. And her and her Stephen West sweaters always like really get me, and it made me really want to make one. So she finished one of his, it's a turtleneck, it's a raglan pullover in this really gorgeous Ching fiber. They're like Surrey alpaca base. It's really fluffy yarn, and it is just the most amazing, coziest looking sweater I've ever seen in my whole entire life. It's amazing. And that really inspired me to go on Ravelry and look up all of Stephen West's garments. And I really want to make one. And what I love about watching her podcast is that she makes a lot of Stephen West garments, and it makes me want to knit them. Because if you know Stephen West's patterns, their samples and the photos for the patterns are always pretty wacky, and I never find myself that drawn to them until I see people knitting them and wearing them, and it actually, to me, makes them seem way more wearable than his pattern photos do for me. So I got to obsessing over his garments, and I really, really want to make one. And I don't know, it's so hard for me to choose because I don't know, because his garments are just so unique. They're interesting, they're constructed in usually really weird ways, and I don't know if they're gonna look good on me or not, but I swear every time she knits one, it looks really good. So I'm like, I gotta have one, I have to make one. So I kind of narrowed it down. I kind of picked one. I think I know which one I want to knit, and I think I'm going to knit it next. And it's the Glam Lamb. So it's a bulky weight pattern. And I saw actually Danny and Monica on the Are You Knitworthy podcast wearing their Glam Lambs a couple episodes ago. And I remembered that, and I was like, this is probably the one I want to make. It's really simple, and it seems like a really good first time Stephen West garment pattern, because it's one of those ones where it's like garter across and there's two arms and that's it. And it's a bulky weight pattern. And for this particular pattern, he pretty much just calls for bulky weight yarn. But if you look at his Penguono, I think it is, that's a bulky weight pattern in terms of gauge, but he calls for you to combine different weights of yarn to achieve that bulky gauge. So what I plan on doing is using the guidelines for the Penguono for yarn weights and combinations to achieve a bulky gauge for the Glam Lamb. So I have been kind of looking through my stash, through my scraps, and I haven't necessarily figured out a yarn combo yet that I want to use, but I think I'm going to do it. It was so funny. I was watching her podcast last night, and I saw her showing off this sweater, and it just like spoke to me so hard that like I spent the whole rest of the night on Ravelry just like combing through the Stephen West garment patterns and through everybody's projects too. I definitely have a few now that I want to make. I definitely want to make the Penguono. It's one that you see pop up a lot in podcasts, and that's part of the reason why I want to make it, is because I get inspired by what other people make, and I've seen so many awesome ones that I want to make that one now too. But this Glam Lamb seems like a good intro garment because it's big and it's bulky, and I can still do the whole fun thing where you combine yarns, and yeah, I'm like obsessing over that right now. So we'll see where that takes me. That's a vague plan for next time. Also, I did finish a couple of books recently that I will let you know about. So I was reading Stardust by Neil Gaiman, and I finished that, and I so highly recommend it. I loved it so much. I thought it was such an inspiring book. I created that colorway, and I love it. It's Neil Gaiman doing what's kind of known as pre-Tolkien fantasy. Okay, nerd alert. J.R.R. Tolkien kind of created a genre. He pioneered modern fantasy. The whole modern fantasy kind of genre is part of it, stems from him and his writings, Lord of the Rings in particular. That started a branch of fantasy that is definitely Tolkien fantasy, and it's hugely widely used these days, and it's awesome, and I love it. Pre-Tolkien fantasy is the fantasy genre that was in literature and storytelling before J.R.R. Tolkien came in and kind of changed everything. And this has to do a lot with kind of what I want to call like European folktales, kind of is what traditional fantasy stories are based on. So Neil Gaiman wrote a fantasy book in this pre-Tolkien fantasy style. And it was so good, you guys. It's a quick read. It's really light and kind of short, and it's just really pleasant. It was just like a really like fun, pleasant, delightful read. I just loved it so much. It's got a journey. It's got a fallen star who is amazing. It's got witches. It's got magic. It's got a unicorn, and it was the best. I loved it. I love Neil Gaiman. I love everything he's ever written that I've read. But this was a little something different. It definitely wasn't his normal style. And it was so cool. I loved it. Highly recommend it. It's a really quick, easy read. And it's just like, it's just delightful. It's really great. And then after that, I moved on to The Hobbit. I mentioned a few episodes ago that a friend of mine and I are planning on reading Lord of the Rings together, because I one day out of nowhere decided it was my favorite piece of literature of all time, and I've only read it once before a long time ago, and I decided I needed to read the whole Lord of the Rings thing again. So I did start off with The Hobbit, which I know anyway. I consider everything like a whole complete thing. So I started off with The Hobbit. I'm going to be reading Lord of the Rings, all 3 books next, and then I'm going to end with this, what's it called? The Silmarillion, I think it's called, which I've never read. That I've never read, and my friend who also loves Lord of the Rings was like really insistent that I had to read it. And it sounds super interesting, so I want to. And so I finished The Hobbit. That's another really quick read. The Hobbit's I know The Lord of the Rings can be a little intimidating. It's long. J.R.R. Tolkien's writing style is not for everyone. I happen to love it. A lot of people find it to be hard to read. It can be a little slow. It can be descriptive. It can be a little drawn out. Some people just don't really like it. It's really detail oriented. I love it, but The Hobbit is a little less like that. It's funny, the way my friend we were talking about it the other day, and he described it to me like this. This is kind of his opinion, and I thought it really captured it well, is that The Hobbit is kind of this whole world and this whole story of Lord of the Rings. told through a hobbit's perspective. The Lord of the Rings is the same kind of thing told through a more human perspective, and the Silmarillion is the same thing told through the fairy perspective. And I thought that was really interesting. I don't know much about it yet because, like I said, I haven't read the Silmarillion yet, and I haven't read Lord of the Rings in years. But I think especially what he said about The Hobbit is really true. It's told in a more simple way. It's a more like fun, kind of lighthearted book. And so that was really fun to read. I loved it. And my favorite character is Bjorn, just so you know. And that was great. So my husband just downloaded the Lord of the Rings trilogy for me on audiobook because I'm an audiobook fiend. And I'm going to start that very soon, and I'm so excited. So those are the books I've been reading and are going to be reading for a while because it's a pretty long trilogy. And yeah, I guess that's it. Yep, that's it for my favorites. Stephen West and fantasy books are my favorites right now. I am going to leave you guys there. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I feel like this was a long one, but I had a lot of stuff that I did. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it and love it and love being a part of this community with you guys. I love getting to know you guys, and I really love and appreciate that you're here and that you comment and that we are talking and engaging and developing relationships. And I just appreciate it so much. So thank you again for being here, and join the knit along. I hope you can make the shop update if you feel like it. That'll be tomorrow. And I hope you guys are having a great week. If you enjoyed the episode, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet, if you feel like it. And I hope you guys have an awesome weekend to come, an awesome week. I think it's Easter this weekend. Is it Easter? I think it's Easter. Happy Easter if you celebrate. It is spring now. We had the equinox. I gotta stop talking because I'm gonna ramble. I love spring. I love equinoxes. I love all that stuff. Anyway, happy knitting, have fun, and stay awesome. Bye, guys.